Good morning, I'm Dave Crane. Welcome to the show. It's Speak on Stage from speakonstage.com. I like to call it Speak on Stage TV because we have one of them, and effectively, even if you watch me on your tiny little phone, it's almost like having a TV. TV doesn't seem to exist anymore, does it? I mean, you might still be watching the domestic channels and going, oh good, somebody's programming my day. The show I want to watch is on in 5 hours. So I'm going to watch a cookery program, a documentary all about seals. I'm going to find out what you can make if you keep your toenail clippings, and also a news bulletin about farming in the garden. And then my show will come on, which is cheese. So that's the way it used to be. For me growing up, as you can see by the grey hair, that's what TV was. You had no choice. There was a person in charge of making TV, or people in charge of TV, who knew more than you about what you should be watching. And so the whole day was mapped up. And I grew up in the UK, so we had BBC One, BBC Two, ITV, and nothing else. And that was it. It was all programmed. And if you waited until the very last minute, when TV came to an end, it was almost like somebody was there saying, can you switch it off and go to bed? We know that you should be in bed by now. No more TV for you. No, no, no. And if you stayed up watching, you had a thing called the Open University that would start. And that's for people who couldn't afford to go to university, or people who were stuck at home, or people who didn't have shoes, and they would just learn from home. And it was always a program of a big long beard person. Even if it was a lady, she had a big long beard. So about beards. I should get rid of this really, shouldn't I? It's about turning into Gandalf. So anyway, Speak on Stage TV, and it's all about helping you to become a more effective communicator and speaker. Today's show is specific, actually. Today's show, you may have noticed, is actually all about this. How to boost your brand. I mean, really, really boost your brand, which I find a fascinating subject and something I've been talking about for many, many long years. Because ultimately, the reason I go on about this stuff more than anything else, we actually go on about a lot about other things as well, is because right now we have the opportunity to grow a brand new brand. Let me explain this. Right now, the brand that you're creating is very much all about who I am on Facebook, on social media, LinkedIn, whatever. And it doesn't really matter too much unless you actually want to position yourself as some kind of celebrity or influencer. And by the way, in today's show, I'll be sharing with you how to grow your brand and 7 tips on how to find out if you are an influencer and how to boost it, in case you want to know more about how to build your brand. So let's go back again. Most people don't indulge in really stepping their head up above the trenches to be noticed, because they'd much prefer just to be quiet. I've got my friends, I've got my work, I've got my family, I've got the stuff I like to do with a small group of people. But the problem is, since lockdown, this has been exacerbated. This has really grown out of proportion, and the fact that we've now got a liquid economy. What used to be straight businesses and straight industries are now having gaps in them. Where once upon a time you'd have the office block right in the center of town that was just full of all these really successful businesses, and now a lot of them are closing, or through social distancing, they're not bringing all their staff in. The staff are working around the world or working around the vicinity. But it means that there's gaps in every industry. Gaps that will be filled by people who might not take a full-time job. They might just be working on a full-time contract. And if you're going to be working on a full-time contract, why work for one organization? If you're going to be working on a full-time contract, why not just consider working for lots of different organizations on short-term contracts, so you can run a couple at the same time and earn more by being independent? And it also means you don't worry about getting promoted, because you don't want to be promoted. You don't worry about anybody caring about you, because you don't have to care. We just have to pay for you. You do your own pension. You do your own insurance, medical, everything, but you're in charge. So where is this going, Dave? Why am I talking about this? Well, I'm talking about it because ultimately growing your brand means that you fit in the liquid economy. If somebody can employ you and get you from any one of over 7 billion people, they've got to notice you. Now, if you've worked in the SEO space, or you've got a website, or even if you've tried to Google yourself, you may have already noticed it's very challenging to find when you come up and when a ton of people with your name or your industry show up before you do. That's because you need to really grow your brand. And the fastest way to grow your brand is to ultimately start speaking, start communicating, creating video, letting people know that you're out there as an industry expert and positioning yourself as the person to go to whenever they need something that you supply. And whenever I talk to people about this, let's say, right, you really need to work on your brand, and they say, Dave, put me down as if anybody wants somebody who can look after their hair, then they should come to me. And I say, no, don't do that. When you say anybody, does that mean anybody is a man, anybody is a woman, anybody is a child, anybody is bald, anybody living in a different country, anybody who constantly wears hats and just wants this bit to be done, anybody who's got Mohican? Ooh, I could have Mohican. What's the story? And anyone doesn't fit, you really need to niche it down, and they need to see instantly social proof that when your brand is effective and you're the person they want to work with, that they have no doubt that ultimately you are the one they need. So today, to cut a long story short, that's what today's show's all about. Go out live onto YouTube, onto LinkedIn, onto Facebook, onto Periscope and Twitter, and onto Instagram as well. We love to have your thoughts, your comments. Wherever you are in the world, please say hi. I'd love to know where you are, and I'd love to say hi back as well. And similarly, any questions you've got about anything that we do in the show, or anything you'd want to add to the show, please let me know. My name's Dave Crane. Welcome to the show. It's Speak on Stage TV. So let's start off where we meant to begin. And we're talking about becoming an influencer. And if you're not an influencer, and the thing is, influencers have had a pretty bad rep recently. When you're an influencer, it means generally, or it meant generally, you've got millions of followers, and therefore everything you do means that you are the lovey of the world. Everybody loves me. I'm an influencer. I do videos that are really funny. Videos all about my makeup. Videos all, and I'm not an influencer, and I don't wear makeup officially. And they talk about things that are not necessarily what everybody wants to know, but they're very good at communicating and very good at creating, I won't say an aroma, but a mystique around themselves. So brands say, you've got a big audience who love your stuff. Here, take my money, talk about my stuff. And it used to work, apart from the fact that brands weren't very good at doing it, in the fact that they'd sort of say, right, this guy's brilliant. He's really funny. He's got all this other stuff that's working, and he's got a really good audience that works with him. So what we're going to do is get him to sell our Rolls Royce. Give him a Rolls Royce, get him to drive around and talk about Rolls Royces. So this guy's got, I'm not talking about me, by the way, I'm not that funny. And I haven't got a Rolls Royce. Not yet. I don't know if I want one. If you want to give me a Rolls Royce. So anyway, so this guy drives around in a Rolls Royce, but the problem is his audience are used to him being silly. Talking about, I don't know, cartoons or shoes or whatever his particular thing is. They're not going to buy Rolls Royce because it's not what they can afford, it's not what they're interested in, and it doesn't have synergy with the reality of what he's been creating and the influence. So a lot of people have stopped spending money on influencers. I've always believed to be a micro-influencer. So what does that mean? Well, for me, very simply, I'm an expert in international keynote speaking. I'm motivating people. I train people to become international keynote speakers and motivational speakers. That's it. Forget all the other stuff I do, a hypnotherapist and life coach and business coach, all that, forget it. One thing, I brand and I speak. I help people to brand themselves and speak. That means it's very simple. Now, hopefully I'm entertaining as well. Why? Because I'm a good speaker. See what I did there? So the key is to become a micro-influencer, but actually deep diving into your own industry. Only doing what you do, talking about what you do. And that means that Google will find you, other people will find you. And here's the big problem that you've got with influencers. And many influencers are watching this show right now, and I don't mean to offend you. A little bit. Ultimately, if you're getting loads and loads of people following you and they're saying you're great and they love you and everything you say, they laugh and they comment you're fantastic, do they actually know what you do for a living? Do they have a clue? Are you monetizing what you do for a living? Because ultimately, if you're talking about, most amazing things that happen in the world and why it's really important that everybody assists it, but you're an accountant, no offense to accountants, and so nobody knows you're an accountant, nobody wants to hire you for accountancy because you never talk about it. If anything, if you're talking about lots of really strange things about the world, they'll probably say, well, I don't think they're going to be a very good accountant because they quite clearly don't do a lot of accounting. They're too busy staring out the window and wanting to make the world a better place. So what you should do is create a brand around your accounting. Be talking about things in an accounting term. Is it fascinating to do that? Not for me, it would bore me. But if you're an accountant, it's your fault, you've already chosen that job. You could create a big industry all around that. And I do work with accountants as well. And so when it comes to it, they say, well, how can I get people interested in what I do? Well, people have to have accountants and auditors. And more than anything, in the auditing world, fewer and fewer are being employed by organizations full time. More of them are being like consultants and being almost like a freelance ronin, as a Japanese samurai working for different paymasters and going around and helping different organizations. So therefore, they had to have skills that are completely different. When an auditor before previous had to stand there and say, ooh, no, I'm the Gestapo of all accountants. What you do is wrong, and I'm not going to tell you how to do it better. I'll just come back and say you're wrong next time as well. Now they have to turn around and say, well, I can help you. But that's not a skill set they used to have. They're not used to being nice. But if they want to get paid, they have to. So creating that brand, changing that way that the world relates to you is kind of key. So to move on very quickly, because I have just used up this whole article time talking about something else. I like to keep this show relatively short, by the way. I do talk fast because I get through as many things as possible. And this is my Captain Marvel mug. Talk about diversity. The most powerful person in the universe isn't Thanos, it's Captain Marvel. And she's a chick. Is that sexist? Don't mean it. But she's diversity. Anyway, so here we go. The 7 things that show you're a born influencer. 7 signs that show you're a born influencer, and you probably don't even know it. So let's move on to the very first one. And the first one is this: communication runs through you effectively. So when you've got something to say, you do say it. You understand the importance of letting people know with clarity and effect exactly what they need to be able to work with. Now, it's important when you do communicate, not just to say, I'm fantastic. That's old school. It's all about them. It should have always been all about them. So when you communicate, it's always going to be about what they can get from the communication that you're sharing. So you offer information, which is what I'm talking about now, on a need-to-know basis. You don't go blah, 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 unless that's a song. You actually share with people the stuff that they need to know at that time, and no more than that, because otherwise what happens, and the salespeople will tell you, master sales trainers will tell you, you can buy things back by talking too long and overstaying your welcome. If you're the smartest person in the room, you probably spend more time watching, learning what everybody else is doing, and working on that, and then moving on. Does that make sense? Okay, should have disabled my WhatsApp before we started. Okay, you're a visible high performer. People know who you are. People see what you do, and you make a point of putting it all around as well. They share all the ideas that you are the best at what you do. And as a result of that, people go and gravitate towards you. You also get great referrals because people talk about how good you are, because you make a point of letting people know that you are great at what you do without bragging. The more that people can sell you, the better it is. The fastest sell you're ever going to get in 3 seconds is when somebody sells you first. All you have to do then is turn up and say, yeah, I'm not a serial killer, but everything they said was true. If you talk about yourself, people don't believe you. Why? Well, why should they? Number 4, you express doubt on what you know and expertise on what you don't know. So basically, when you understand the subject, you can turn around and say, well, I don't think that's quite true. But when you don't understand the subject so much, you can turn around and say, well, I live in this world, so I'm not quite sure about how this works out, but let me give you my spin on it. So therefore, you become an authority, and people respect the fact that you are an authority in many things. Number 5, you use a lot of hand gestures. Hello. Well, I don't know how true that is. Some people are very expressive without moving their hands, and they're just like really good to talk to. But generally, it's a communication tool. If you're very good at influencing people, your body language also carries weight. Now, I live in Dubai, gorgeous, gorgeous, wonderful Dubai, in the UAE. And I've lived here for about 30 years. And one of the things that you got here is so many different nationalities, all living in harmony together. And so a lot of the time, people don't speak English as a first language. Now, they will tend to use a lot of body language at the same time to communicate on subconscious levels the basic message of what they're trying to say. So if I was to say to you this, What you understood me to say is, I like to ride my bike, and sometimes I go and get to something from Starbucks. Moving on, okay, let's go to the next one. We did number 5. Number 6 is this. You're honest, helpful, hardworking, kind, intelligent, self-sacrificing for others, and have a good sense of humor, and therefore you're more attractive. Well, the thing is, being attractive doesn't make a lot of difference. He said not being attractive, but the thing is, people are interested in other people that are interested in them. What's in it for me is probably the biggest question you should always ask whenever relating to people. Not what's in it for me, what's in it for you. You watch the show every day because you want to know what I've got for you in the show. And hopefully you're not bored, and hopefully you haven't been kicked out of the house and you're living in the car because you had an argument with your partner and she said, right, you're not getting any more breakfast. You can stay in the car tonight and don't come knocking on the door, poking that thing again. Other people's houses. So you've always got to get on with people. You've always got to think about them, think what's in it for them, and communicate effectively in a way that makes you good company. Because we all know people are very smart. We all know people that are very, very good at what they do. Does it mean you want to invite them around for your barbecue? No. Why? Social distancing. Nobody comes around for barbecues anymore. Would you like some mustard? Yeah. Could you get me some when you go to the shop as well then? So it's going to be a while for a barbecue. And last but not least, you get excited when offering your ideas. Enthusiasm sells. The more you love what you do, that actually infects other people and makes, I shouldn't say infect, makes people addicted. That's probably not a good word. Makes people want to have more from you because you're good company. It's amazing how some people who are celebrities on TV can talk about the most boring subjects, but somehow turn them into really fascinating things. Think about the teachers you like from school. Some teachers did subjects you hated, but you loved the class and you learned a ton because the teacher was good company. Whereas sometimes you get a really dull teacher. Do you remember that far back? And the teacher was so boring that the subject you loved, you just might as well do it on my own because this is killing me. Do you remember that? No? Not too far back. Anyway, trust me, it's true. So that's the basic stuff that what you need to be able to do if you want to be a very effective influencer, and to tell you that's what you need to know when you're influencing people and making a huge difference. Caught me at a bad time drinking my wonderful coffee. And he's saying, what coffee is it? Well, first of all, it's my Captain Marvel mug, which I got from Virgin a long time ago. Yes, I was a Virgin a long time ago. Feel like one now. So there we are, Rebellious Spirit. And the coffee is brown. Right, let's get into branding. What can you do to boost your brand? If you just joined If you just joined me, by the way, welcome to Speak on Stage TV. My name is Dave Crane. We're sharing lots of stuff on this particular subject, all about how to boost your brand and to be really perceived as being very good and big at doing what you do. Okay, so with this, I want you to know how to boost your brand with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 easy steps. First of all, 1, take stock of where you are, not where you're living, but that can make a factor as well. See, that's what I was trying to push. It took ages to come through. Thank you very much for freezing on me, by the way. Still here, though. How to boost your brand. First thing we were talking about was the importance, as we mentioned earlier, about understanding where you are right now. Take stock of where you physically are located, but who you are and what journey you are and what people perceive of you. This is very important because you can't just turn around and say, look at me, I'm the most beautiful person in the world and I do makeup tips, if you've got a big long beard, going grey, and people are going, don't think it's true, do you? So take stock of who you are, where you are, and what your existing position is. Number 2, what do you want to be seen as? You've got to look at a couple of different things. We talked about the hedgehog concept in a previous show. You can go and find it yourself if you can't find it. But that talks about 3 things. First of all, interlocking circles. Imagine 2, 3 circles that interlock. In the center is what you need to be. So first of all, 1 is what are you best in the world at doing. Second one is what are you passionate about doing. And third one is what will the world pay for. Okay, so in the three of them is a center, and that will make you happy because you're doing what you love doing, what you're very good at doing, and the world will pay for the rest of your life. But what do you want to be seen as? If you haven't worked out to be what that hedgehog is, that thing of a center, the odds are you might not be in the right position of creating an influence in something you can't really influence. And you'll end up always playing second fiddle to other people who are better at doing it than you are, and you'll always be frustrated by the fact that nobody takes you seriously enough. Does that make sense? Yes, Dave. Thank you. Okay, so moving on with that then, who are your target audience? Who is it you want to reach? Who are the people that you think are so important? I just realized I'm sort of dangling in midair now, aren't I? Look at that. You're wondering what I'm talking about? Well, look at this. Look at this. Whoa. Look at the difference there. See? It looked like I was in front of a counter in a shop. Hello? Would you like burger? So, okay, who are your target audience? Who are the people that are going to be interested in the stuff that you're creating? And what do they do and what do they want from you? So what do they want? Do they want you to present it? Do they want somebody to present it? Or they're not even interested in it? Sometimes when you're talking about a particular brand, you're saying, right, I can do this. I can create jetpacks, personal jetpacks that can fly you to the shops in 30 seconds. Great, good for you. Do you want one? No. Why? Got a car. And it's got a stereo. Plays Justin Bieber. Somebody else. Mine plays probably something right. It doesn't actually. What have I got on there? Some podcast. Moving on. Number 5, who already delivers what you're after with your brand? Who's your competition? Who is the industry icon in what you're doing right now? If you don't know who it is, do some investigation. Google it. See whose name props up. The reason that you want to do it is you want to see them as the market leader, and success leaves clues. So if you can emulate what they do, but not copy it, but do your own version of it, it clearly works because it works for them. But you don't want to steal their material. You don't want to steal their keywords and their branding. Maybe a little bit, take a little bit of it, but not too much. You want your own version of it, because otherwise people will just accuse you of being a scumbag, and that's not what you want. Not a scumbag, but copycat. Okay, number 6, strategize. That's the whole process of going, how do I get from here to reach these people who want to have that? Excuse me. Too much of that wonderful coffee, maybe. Who would have thought that's the most expensive liquid on the planet? Not the stuff in my glass, just water. Apart from ink, but you can't drink ink. Okay, so strategize. What do you have to do to get from here to there on an ongoing basis? Because as you go along this journey, it keeps moving all the time. And then number 7, take action. Jump and grow wings on the way down, which is my own personal saying, and you can't steal it, but I will let you borrow it for today. Jump and grow wings on the way down, which means taking a calculated decision. If I do this, then that could happen, and I think I can probably make it work, so I'm going to go for it. Because while you're making that decision to jump, most people are in their comfort zone going, no, 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 no. There's a ton of people right now in good jobs watching this show going, well, Dave, I'm so glad my job's fine. Is it? I shouldn't say that, but stop watching the show. And number 8, rinse and repeat, or evaluate and repeat. Find out what works, do the stuff, look at it, check it out, do it again, bigger and better next time, and it's an ongoing basis you have to do this. Now, how often should you work on your brand? The answer is every single day. You don't have to stress about it every single day, but it should be a work in progress. Love to know your thoughts and your comments. I do answer as much as possible. Please keep them coming. It's nice to know that you're there, and I'm here for you every single day because it matters. Yes. And I love to know your thoughts on branding. Who's the best brander in your particular industry? And if you'd like to know more about how you can position yourself to be better, because remember, this is a liquid industry. Every industry is changing, shaking, and it's completely different from how it used to be. And if you've never done your social media properly, you've never really thought about your LinkedIn profile being effective, your branding, and also speaking, which is the fastest way to create video content. And video content is king or queen, depending on whether you believe in Captain Marvel or not. Then let me know. Speak on stage. Right then, before we go to this, actually, I was going to share something with you. This is my Industry Icon program where I work with people to change them into very effective industry icons, positioning themselves as being brilliant amongst all their peers and their branding colleagues. Before we go to that, let's have a look at what is being told in the industry all about how to create an effective personal brand and business brand at the same time.
Building a brand is about so much more than designing a logo. It's about creating that whole identity that props up that logo. John Matejcik, who's the Chief Creative Officer at the agency Matejcik Hoffer, talks to us about how you create and establish a brand.
The first is keep in mind that you have a brand whether you like it or not, so it's up to you to decide what it is. If you say that you're red, but everything you do is blue, you're going to be blue. And by that I mean the management in your company will determine the culture. Culture is not about ping pong tables and foosball tables and free cappuccino. Culture is about personality. Companies in many ways have a personality like a human being has, and you can't pretend your personality is something that's not. So choose a brand that really feels authentic to the people running the organization. Particularly now, people really like well-crafted things, people like well-crafted experiences, and that is what a brand is. It's how people experience your company. So your interface matters, your interaction design matters, the way your logos and your language matters. This is completely contradictory to the every detail matters part, but I'll say it anyway. Don't overthink it. When people get their undies in a bunch over what their brand is, people start to write cliches and stuff that won't offend anyone. Don't overthink it. When you're really being authentic to who you are as a group of people, as a brand, what your actual product does, what your actual company provides the world, it will come through authentically. There's way too much going on out there to be just more of the same. And if you look at the brands that are out there, 99% of them are pretty missable and pretty much the same. The easiest thing, the least expensive thing you will ever do to build value in your company is boldness. So be bold graphically, be bold with the tone of voice, and don't worry about it.
So I hope that was interesting. I hope that you learned a lot. I hope that you got enough stuff out of that to help you move forward. And let me tell you a little bit now about my Industry Icon program. Industry Icon program is about my coaching sessions that get people from where they need to be, where they are to where they need to be, basically from A to Z. So if you're challenged in your business and you're a decision maker, I'm wondering where can I be if it all came together. I want to learn to speak because I've never really done much with it. I also know that I've got a ton to share, and I want to take an opportunity because right now we're heading towards recession and people are all over the place. Now's a really good time. Why do you think I'm doing the show? Why? Because now everyone's going, I don't know where I am. If that's you and you're wondering how to grow your brand, become an effective speaker, get your social media right, plan your business in a completely different way to really take you to the top of your particular food chain, then contact me. Go to thedavecrane.com, thedavecrane.com. All my social media and contacts are there, so just get in touch with me straight away. Meanwhile, if you want to know more about what I do, go to speakonstage.com. Speakonstage.com, which is the website which I just mentioned to you, and you'll find out who I am, what I do, and how you can get one of me. Anyway, it's been Speak on Stage TV. My name's Dave Crane. Love to have your comments, your thoughts, as always, well appreciated. Some wonderful stuff coming in, and there's nothing better than communicating with people all around the world. I know it's breakfast time in the UK, mid-morning in the UAE and Middle East. It's in the subcontinent, India and Pakistan and so on, it's middle afternoon. In Australia, it's late evening-ish, and in America, and I do get lots of friends from America turning around saying, Dave, I really enjoy your show because it's the first thing I watch when I wake up, which is kind of creepy a bit. I like it, don't get me wrong, but Yeah, it's all right. So wherever you are in the world, I'd like to know, okay? It's always great to be able to connect with people. And if you're traveling and you're in a certain place and you feel a little bit lonely, I hope the show is here for you as well as your special friend. Not an invisible friend, that's kind of even more weird. So, with that, I'd like to leave you with a thought. Before we finish today's show, and I'll give you one of my own personal videos. This one's called Haters and Trolls. Now, I make these movies, I make these little mini music videos, partly because I'm an ex-DJ and I can't get out of my system, but also because I find that it helps to motivate people, and I hope you like this one. It's called Haters and Trolls, and it's all about the challenges that you have in your life and why you shouldn't care what anybody else thinks of them. It's your journey, it's all about you, it always has been about you, and be the best you possibly can, because everybody else is taken. I'll see you tomorrow for another episode. I hope you're enjoying it. Please, as always, comments, shares, watch parties, subscribe, and look after yourself. It's Speak on Stage TV. Hi, I'm Dave Crane. Let's talk about haters and trolls. If you want to be loved like you were at school, very simply, don't do anything with your life. Sit there quietly, don't interfere, and let the whole world pass you by. But here's a challenge. The world's not going to pass you by, because the world is going to move around you and leave you exactly where you were standing or where you were sitting. You have to move, you have to break some eggs to make an omelette, and you have to make a decision on what is your brand going to be. Will it be validated? Will you be loved? Will you get haters? Will you get trolls? You're going to get all the above. And when you start your business for yourself or for somebody else, it's going to take twice as long to get what you want and cost twice as much as you predict. There'll be some who like you, there'll be some who hate you, but the truth is none of that matters. All that really matters is what you think of you. You start moving, you start making a decision, and you start thinking, oh no, people are criticizing you. And the whole thing is, we got taught from a very early age to deal with people's criticism by thinking it's really valid. But it's not. It only matters if you can use it and turn your business into a more successful way to look after yourself, your friends, your family, your holidays, the people that you truly care about. Everything else is just other people's opinion. And someone decided it was a good idea to tell you how to be small. F those people. Be as big as you can be, as big as you want to be, because it's none of their darn business. You're never going to get everybody to like you. At school you didn't. But here's the thing, 50% of the person you are was probably formed in the school playground and not in the educational forum where you studied and worked really hard to get your exams. Your ability to get on with people, your ability to learn, to network, to sell, to create relationships is what's creating the you right now. Think about your fame. Think about your connections. Think about your brand. Think about some of the biggest names in the world. Doesn't matter how popular you are, there's always someone, somewhere, who hates your guts, who hates the way you talk, hates the way you walk, and hates the fact that you breathe. F them as well. You get paid for two things: the effect of the job you do, and how cheaply you can get replaced by somebody else. If you want to be found, you've got to create a brand. If you want to get paid, you've got to start going out on a limb as an artist and creating stuff that nobody else is creating in the market. And if you want to be loved, get a dog. You get one go at this life. Get off your ass, go out, break some eggs, and make the best omelette possible. Want more help? I'll be out there with you. That's my guarantee to you.